Hey, this guide is for players who are generally new to the game, let's say great class and below. But I mean, like, hey, maybe some expert players or even veterans and ultra players can take away from this guide. So I mean, like, hey, if you guys want a more advanced guide in the future, make sure to subscribe. I'll be doing a video of a more advanced guide that goes over time calculations, things like that you should know for playing Pokemon Unite. But you know, if you don't want to miss that video, please make sure to ring the bell, as it does help me a lot when you guys subscribe. So yeah, let's get on with it. Honestly, first things first is let's talk about the settings. The settings honestly matter a lot in Pokemon Unite, and they change a lot of how you want to play and how you're able to essentially play. So I recommend is having your settings look more or less like this, the ones I'm showing you on screen right now. So generally speaking, you want to have opponent lock-on priority set to the lowest remaining HP value. You want to have attack control be set to advanced controls, as this helps you differentiate between attacking, let's say, a little minion on the field, or attacking the main opponents, like let's say a Ninetales or Pikachu. So this helps a lot because you're not going to be able to essentially attack, let's say, the little minion compared to attacking the opposing Pokemon. So this differentiation helps a lot in your gameplay. Second thing I have to honestly say is attack control is boosted attack gauge on. Boosted attack gauge on is really useful, as it lets you essentially know when you're going to have another boosted attack, and the boosted attacks do more damage and honestly have sometimes even an additional effect. So doing that little boosted attack gauge on is a good way of you knowing when your boosted attack is actually going to happen. Lock on gauge is actually super important, as that allows you to essentially prioritize who you're going to be targeting in a match, as sometimes the game makes it so you prioritize somebody on the field, but it's not exactly who you want to prioritize. So being able to quickly switch it up allows you to actually prioritize who you want to prioritize. Lock in motion pursuit mode off. In motion pursuit off. The reason why you want this is because in Unite, if you attack a Pokemon and let's say they're slightly outside your range, the game is essentially going to move your character to make them more inside your range, and you don't want that, because the last thing you want to do is start spamming auto attack, and essentially, you know, you're attacking the minion and you're going closer to them when it's like, why are you going closer when you don't really need to? So a lot of times it gets you out of positions and you don't want to be out of position. The scoring controls to be press button. Honestly, you want that to be press a button, because holding it can have so many implications, and like it gets annoying, especially having to try and hold it. So being able to just have it there and then being able to spam by pressing a button changes the game a lot. Camera follow moves on is really useful for moves like, let's say, Hydro Pump, moves like Venusaur Solar Beam. It helps a lot because then you're able to essentially see where the move is going to go, and you're able to essentially have your camera followed a little bit better than if you were to just blindly aim it. This allows you to quickly aim it and snipe the move a little bit better. Move aim follows movement direction on. That's super good because you essentially want to have more control as to what way you actually move when you use your attack, rather than just using a direction, and that doesn't really help you. You want to have move aim snaps to nearby opponents off, I believe, and this essentially makes it so that way when you're actually doing this, you're not doing the wrong things, especially when you're moving. Like, you don't want to just have it snipe to a Blastoise when you're actually trying to aim at the Venusaur. It happens a lot. You also want to have aim assist off. The game's aim assist isn't really the best, so having it completely off, honestly, I think is better than having it on. The second thing I want to talk about is, honestly, always check and complete your tutorials, your battle pass, your daily missions, as these grant rewards that go a long way, like Eos coins, essentially Eos coins let you buy playable Pokemon. So you're able to essentially play more Pokemon, and you're able to use more Pokemon that you want. Especially, it's really good for having them because you only get 2,000 a week, but with those daily bonuses, it lets you get those more and more. You also essentially want to be able to have, you know, tickets. You want to be able to have some item enhancers that the game sometimes gives you, and those are really important. I'll get to tickets and item enhancers in a little bit. Pokemon can essentially run items in the game, and compared to like the mainline game, you can actually run 4 items in Pokemon Unite. Now what I mean by this is you can run 1 battle item, and you can run up to 3 held items depending on your level, of course, as 1 battle item is essentially an item that you're able to use more interchangeable during battle, and the 3 held items are more what we're used to, where a Pokemon's holding an item and it has an effect as to how they play in battle. So from here, honestly, you can run, you know, some items work better on some Pokemon compared to others, like Wise Glasses on special attackers like Pikachu, Venusaur, Slowbro, while Muscle Band is better for some physical attacking Pokemon like Charizard, Greninja, and Machamp. So remember how I mentioned tickets? Cool. So tickets can allow you to essentially buy items in the shop. Tickets are where you use to buy items in the shop, and you can also use those tickets to also buy item enhancers. And this is important because item enhancers allow you to upgrade your item. Yes, you're able to essentially upgrade your wise glasses, your leftovers, your muscle band, all those from being from level 1 to level 2, etc., all the way up to level 30 technically. But you really only got to prioritize getting them up to level 20. Really, level 20s really matter. After that, if you upgrade them, you upgrade them. It's not necessarily a forced thing. Like level 30 items are better than level 20 items, but the difference isn't so massive that it's necessary. Now, you don't want to waste all your item enhancers on items that aren't really good for your Pokemon and don't really do anything. So make sure to generally upgrade the items that are best for your Pokemon and best for you. Now, again, these are all personal preference as to what items you want to run and how they work towards your build, how you work towards the Pokemon you're using, and also how your playstyle is. But generally saying, I say try level up these items up, as they help your Pokemon a lot in battle. For battle items, generally speaking, the best items to run are, number 1, I would say, is Inject Button. Number 2 would be Full Heal. Number 3 would be Fluffy Tail. 4 would be Go Getter. 5 would be X Speed, and 6 would probably be X Attack. I think these are like honestly in how they go. If you guys disagree, make sure to comment. Let me know what you guys think is actually a better, I guess, form of which best battle items you guys prefer. Now, in a battle, every Pokemon has a preferred lane, right? Some Pokemon prefer to go top, some Pokemon prefer to go middle, some Pokemon prefer to go bottom. Generally speaking, it is 2 top, 2 bottom, and 1 go middle. The middle is also oftentimes referred to as jungler. And while others can play both top and bottom lane, and some Pokemon can even play all lanes, every Pokemon has a preferred lane. Now, a general rule of thumb is that if you're going either top lane or bottom lane, please, I beg you, I beggeth thee, do not take any wild Pokemon in the middle. Like for the first 2 to 3 minutes, don't take any Pokemon in the middle, as oftentimes you need your jungler to be really strong. That way they're able to burst down your opponents. So taking down their farm doesn't help you. It doesn't help. Like you might get a little more XP, but your jungler is going to be struggling, and then your entire team is going to be struggling. So don't, in those first 3 minutes, I suggest don't taking your teammate's jungle, because you only are hurting them. That includes all 4 Corphish in the middle. That includes the Bucephalon. That includes also Ludicolo and the Corphish that spawn in the middle. So I suggest that. But in those first 3 minutes of the match, your goal is to essentially get XP by either KOing wild Pokemon, let's say the Amapoms, the Audinos, the Corphish that spawn. And essentially when you go top lane, there will be a Corphish that will spawn in the middle of the lane near the grass at the bottom of the top lane if possible. Try to race to it, like try to KO all your Amapoms quickly. And the 2 Amapoms that are there in the beginning of the lane, forget them, quickly go to the Corphish, as getting that Corphish is super important, as it lets you essentially have an XP advantage compared to your opponent. An XP advantage is very important. That's essentially your goal in the first 3 minutes. And essentially try to KO it, as it gives you and your teammates more of an advantage with that XP. Same thing goes for the bottom lane, but instead it would be at the top of the bottom lane, and it's going to be an Audino instead. So try to race those Pokemon fastest if you can, as it'll help you out a lot. Like, trust me when I say it will help you out a lot. If you're able to essentially score, remember that having less than 11 points is easier to score than having a lot of points. So try not to always keep a lot of points. And if you're able to score quickly some points, as it's very hard for your opponents to punish you, but only really do that if you know you have a means of escaping, like a move that allows you to quickly move out. Or let's say you have a check button equipped, you're able to quickly escape. That way you're not getting punished for scoring, let's say 2 points. It's not worth it. Staying alive in the first 3 minutes is super crucial. If possible, and a base only needs, let's say, 5 points to be destroyed, try having your teammate with the most points score rather than you simply scoring your 5 points, as this allows you, as essentially the leftover items, let's say like they score 40, would carry over instead of you just simply scoring your 5, as by the end of the game, those extra, let's say 35 points that got scored matter. Like they add up. So try to have your opponent, essentially try to have your teammate score the most points on the base when they can. But let's say, you know, the score only needs 5 points to score. If you got 3, quickly score in those 3 and then have your teammate with the 40 score. Things like that, just doing a lot of quick math to quickly get a lot of the points to matter more helps go a long way. At the 7-minute mark, essentially a Rotom will spawn at the top lane, a Dreadnought will spawn at the bottom lane. I suggest you rotate and run and take the Dreadnought fight, as Dreadnought is super important and super useful, way more important than honestly Rotom, I believe. Then so yeah, because Dreadnought gives you, you know, XP bonus. Dreadnought also gives you a good shield bonus, which just helps you and your team out a lot. So I suggest you going bottom to fight that Dreadnought. If you take Rotom as well, that's also beneficial, as Rotom essentially opens up the goal and essentially allows you to score for free, similar to what Zapdos does at the end. So Rotom is really good at just being able to just open up the goal and doing that, but Dreadnought is definitely more important, and I would place your importance on Dreadnought more than Rotom, honestly. So yeah, if you can, rotate down for Dreadnought. Now, when it comes to this, Dreadnought and Rotom both, what really matters is who knocks out Dreadnought and Rotom rather than actually who does the most damage. You could do 99% of the damage to Dreadnought and Rotom, but what really matters is what team knocks out Dreadnought or Rotom. If you're the team that gets the last hit on Rotom, congrats. Now, essentially, Rotom's gonna be on your side, fighting to the enemy's goal. If you take the last hit on Dreadnought, now you and your team have the shield bonus. So that's really useful. You never have to essentially really worry about getting most of the damage in. What really matters is getting that last hit. So always try to snipe in that Dreadnought and Rotom when you can. Now, I didn't really speak about middle lane, but essentially when you're jungling, what you actually want to do is essentially farm all the Pokemon. You want to get the little Lillipup in the beginning. You then want to get the Ludicolo or the Corphish first. Then you want to rotate and essentially take the Buffalo. And then from there, you then want to take the Corphish as well, and then rotate down for bottom, as bottom lane is super important. And this helps you out a lot. If you are able to, you essentially, after a while, you can quickly take the Salic. That's the green berry in the middle, the Salic berry. You can take that to increase your movement speed. You can get some of the Corphish in the middle. And you generally want to try and get to level 7 as quick as possible, even level 9, to help your team out a lot when those Dreadnought fight happens. Now, honestly, a very important thing I have to say for beginners is honestly farm. Farming is super important. Trying to go into scoring won't really help you, but farming is super important. As honestly, what really matters in this game is having an XP bonus, not really necessarily let's say a 5v2. Two people can win a 5v2 if those people have way more levels. Let's say they have 1 or 2 more levels than the opponent. XP is honestly everything in Pokemon Unite. So honestly, if you can, try to steal the bees, try to steal the last hit on the Audinos, the Corphish, all those things from your opponents, and prevent them from essentially leveling up and getting that XP. If you're able to, get the last hit on Dreadnought, all these things matter. And even if you're behind and you need to focus on the Audino in your spawn rather than chasing their goal, do that. Getting the XP bonus matters so much because you essentially want to have a good bonus and a good momentum, I want to say, of having XP rather than just sitting around waiting for something to happen, as oftentimes when that happens, you're going to be down XP. The opponents are going to be like 2, 3 levels above you and you're going to get rolled. So honestly, having a better XP boost, let's say, having more XP matters a lot. Being closer to your opponent's level, if not being higher than them, matters so much. If you're able to farm off wild Pokemon. Now, if you do have the level advantage and you try to fight your opponent, do that. Go for it. But be careful of baiting. Oftentimes, you'll see a Pokemon that is low and you chase them in hopes of KOing them, and then they basically run back to their base, they heal up, and then their jungler or somebody else comes in and just KOs you. It's baiting. It happens a couple times. And that happens, and essentially you then just essentially fed, and that wouldn't really help you. So try to not always chase if you know you can't get the KO and you don't really feel like you can actually secure it. But if you are able to, go for it. If you can't and you know that they run back to their base, just retreat. If they're able to make it back to their base, they're going to be able to out heal more than you're going to be able to dish damage, especially if they're by the second base, because the second base heals more than the first base, I want to say. So yeah, try to always take the fight, but if you can't, it's okay to just retreat. Another tip I have is honestly save your unites and use them for winning team fights. If the enemy team is about to, if you can't clutch out a fight, don't use your unite. Just using your unite to survive when the winning the fight doesn't really matter. It won't do anything. Honestly, if you're in the beginning of a team fight, use your unite. Use it to essentially burst down your opponent. And the more you'll play, the more you'll feel when is the right time to actually use your unite, when's the best time to use it. But if you're just using it just to use it, it won't help you a lot. Oftentimes, using it at the beginning of a fight helps you out a lot more than just using it at the end of a fight. If you're ever low and can't get a berry, just hold down the control. Just hold down. Just hold down. Yeah. On the control pad and essentially jump back to base. Once you're at base, you'll be healing a lot faster, almost instantly, let's say. And from there, after the 5-minute mark, halfway point, you'll be essentially able to go back into the fight much quicker with the jump pad. But if not, you'll be able to run back into the lane and get back to the fight. And this happens a lot where we'll just be sitting there waiting for the base to heal us, and the base won't heal us. So that won't really help us. But instead, if you're able to jump back to base, heal up quickly, and then go back, that helps a lot more than just sitting there, especially when it comes to Zapdos fights and you're low and you survived and you have the time. Go back to base, heal up, then come back to the fight. Now for Zapdos, my advice for beginners is try to get the last hit on Zapdos Always try to get the last hit on Zapdos. Even if you feel like your teammates are gonna get the last hit, try to get the last hit yourself, as it's a better feeling for yourself when you actually get it. And especially there might be enemies that try to snipe it, so you getting the last hit matters so much on Zapdos. If you are in the lead, you don't need to fight Zapdos. If you have the advantage, you don't need to take Zapdos. Just hide in the bushes, wait for your opponents, ambush them, KO them. Once the opponents are all knocked out, then yeah, you could take Zapdos. But you don't generally need Zapdos if you're in the lead. If you're behind, then you need to take Zapdos. Try to be careful of enemies hiding in the grasses, and honestly prioritize fighting the enemies over fighting Zapdos, unless Zapdos is super low and about to get KO'd. As oftentimes, you know, prioritizing Zapdos will get you weakened, and then the enemy team focuses you rather than you focusing the enemy team and knocking out the enemy team. Especially if they're able to like then escape after you do a lot, after Zapdos does a lot of damage to them, they're able to escape, they're able to heal up. Just focus down the enemies, then Zapdos in my honestly prioritized list of that. Generally speaking, every team has a role of every type. Let's say one speedster, one defender, one supporter, one all-rounder, one attacker, and you kind of want one role of every type in your team, but it's not a very strict rule. You could have, let's say, 2 defenders, 2 supporters, one real strong attacker that does jungle. This generally is up to you, but I want to say up to essentially 3 attackers is really good, and having at least 1 defender and support is really nice. You don't need, again, this is all recommendation. This isn't a very strict build that you need to run 3 attackers, and if you run 4 you're gonna lose. No, just be careful, as oftentimes you want to be getting used to making a good team composition rather than, hey, we're all running everyone who needs jungle, like we're running 5 speedsters. It wouldn't help you out. Plus, every Pokemon has their general role. If you're a defender, you should be in front of the team, in front of the team and in front of the fights, absorbing damage for your team and preventing the enemy team from pushing up onto you. Let's say like a Snorlax uses Block, a Crustle uses Rock Tomb, things like that. A Blastoise can use Surf, Slowbro can also use Surf. Things like that help a long way. And yeah, you essentially want to prevent the enemies from essentially doing damage to your teammates, and instead you want to be absorbing the damage while your teammates are doing damage to them. You know, if you're essentially a supportive player, you want to be able to take 2v1s with your teammates and support them and actually allow them to finish off the enemy. And you can support them by either healing them, you can support them by either giving them, you know, buffs to their stats. So it helps go a long way when you're actually a supporter than just simply trying to attack them and taking those 1v1s. Try to take 2v1s as a supporter. If you're attackers, try to always pump up the damage and be ready to take fights. That way you always have, like, let's say an XP bonus and an XP lead, because you always want to be ready to just burst down the opponents really easily when you need to, especially if you have a numbers advantage like an XP or a 2v1. Something I want to say is, honestly, always watch the map. Try to always see when your enemies are actually trying to score. That way you're able to jump on them. That way you're able to prevent them from scoring. Let's say you want us to be able to see when your teammates need assistance, when your teammates are running away. Try to always check the mini map to basically get an idea of where and how everything is. Is your top goal taken? Is their top goal taken? Try to always watch it out, so that way you're able to essentially see what is going on in the match, and you're able to stay more aware, as being more aware of what's happening is super important, as you could prevent someone from scoring 100 points on you because you were aware and you noticed that they were doing something rather than just simply, you know, not stopping them. So try to always be aware. If you hold down the L button and actually move the right stick, you'll be able to essentially pan out and see where everybody is. Doing this goes a very long way, as you're able to essentially see, you know, is Zapdos low? Is Dreadnought low? Is somebody on these Pokemon? You're able to see it all. So doing this helps you get a lot of information really quickly. This is the beginner's guide to Pokemon Unite. If you found any of the tips I mentioned here today helpful, please leave a like. It helps the channel out. If I didn't mention a tip, hey, comment down below. I highly appreciate it, as I want to basically give more information for new players, give information. I want to have information be circling, have a good discussion in the comments. And yeah, if you guys don't want to miss out on another guide video like that advanced guide I mentioned before, please make sure to subscribe, ring the bell, as we're almost close to 1,000 subscribers. I'm just saying, you know, God, you're almost close. So hey, guys, my name is Gabe, and remember to always build, reflect, and improve. I'm out. Peace.